Fish keeping is a wonderfully rewarding and enjoyable hobby. In this DVD, we'll explain the natural cycles involved and take you step by step through all the stages needed to create your own stunning tropical freshwater aquarium. When full, your aquarium will be extremely heavy, so make sure your floor can take the weight. The position of the aquarium is central to the health and well-being of your fish. Always avoid direct sunlight, as this promotes algae growth and changes in water temperature. For the same reason, keep it away from radiators or fireplaces. Avoid loudspeakers as well, since the vibrations can stress the fish. Always consider access. The ideal location is often in a quiet corner of the room, near an electrical socket, but not directly above it. There are a wealth of tanks to choose from in all shapes and sizes, and it's often best to take professional advice from your local retailer when deciding. One thing you must make sure is that your tank has a large enough surface area to support your fish. The oxygen they breathe and the carbon dioxide they exhale are dissolved in the water and get in and out at the water surface, so it's vital to have a large surface area to allow an adequate exchange of gases. Tall column-shaped tanks might look eye-catching, but they can only sustain a few fish. Often the best is the rectangular aquarium. This provides good views and, most importantly, a large surface area in relation to the volume of the water in the tank. We're using a medium-sized starter tank, which when full will weigh a hefty 280 pounds or 127 kilograms. Before starting, make sure you have all the relevant equipment: a long spirit level, a ruler, a plastic water jug, some old towels, double-sided sticky pads to attach the background, cable ties, scissors, an electrical screwdriver, scrubbing brushes and cloth, and a 2-gallon plastic bucket, ideally with volume markings. After unpacking and positioning the tank, the most crucial task is to make sure it's level, both from side to side and front to back. If you need to level the tank, always make sure you adjust the cabinet or stand. Never under any circumstances put wedges under the tank itself, as this can cause undue stress which could crack the tank. It's always advisable to wipe out the inside of the tank with a brand new damp cloth. This ensures it's never had any cleaning chemicals on it that could cause contamination. In nature, heat from the sun warms the seabed or substrate. Water directly above the substrate gets warmed by it, causing the water to rise by convection. As it moves to the surface, it cools and sinks. This process creates a circulation of water that carries nutrients back down into the substrate. This circulation prevents the seabed becoming lifeless and stagnant. The low wattage cable imitates this thermal current and keeps the substrate rich in nutrients for the plant roots. When setting up your tank, remember that water and electricity don't mix, so always use a power breaker. All appliances must be disconnected from the mains before doing anything where you might come into contact with water. To prevent water dripping into a socket, make sure to use a drip loop. With all chemicals and equipment, always follow manufacturer's instructions and keep chemicals locked away from children. Now that the tank is level and clean, it's time to install the heating cable. This provides gentle warmth that encourages healthy root and plant growth. The cable is laid across the base of the tank and is anchored around suckers. If you can, it's best to maintain the cable under a slight tension when looping it. Make sure the wattage for the cable doesn't exceed 25 watts, otherwise you risk damaging the plant roots. Substrate acts as the foundation of your aquarium, and there's a wide range available to help you get the ideal look you're after. Most require nutrient material to be added to support the growth of plants, so if you're in any doubt, always consult your retailer for specialist advice. Pea gravel is available in a variety of sizes, and combining different grades creates an interesting look. It has an open structure, allowing a good circulation of oxygenated water to all parts of the substrate bed. Because of its mineral content, it will always bring the water conditions back to neutral or alkaline. Quartz gravel is an inert material that's used a great deal in aquariums. There are a wide variety of colours and grades available, and it provides a perfect substrate to allow for healthy root growth. Silver sand has very fine inert grains that don't make the water cloudy, and it's very effective at distributing the heat from your heating cable. However, if you use a thick layer, it will quickly compact down and eliminate oxygen from the substrate, so you should only use it in a thin layer and cover it in a substrate with a more open structure. Lime-free gravel makes an excellent inert substrate and is a first-rate planting medium which should help to ensure healthy, beautiful plants. Alpha grog is a porous, inert ceramic with a large surface area. To the touch, it has a rock-like feel. The best grade for substrate is 3 mm or 0.1 inch. This allows good heat circulation and encourages strong root growth. Its large surface area promotes the growth of good aerobic bacteria that help process organic waste in the tank. Once the cable is in place, it's time to add the substrate. All substrate needs to be thoroughly washed before adding to the tank. To clean it, fill a bucket with hot water and add the substrate. To avoid scalding your hands, stir with a clean implement. You'll notice the water become cloudy. Keep changing the water and stirring until it's completely clear. Then use a clean plastic jug to carefully pour it over the base of the aquarium, being careful not to dislodge the heating cable. Once you reach a depth of 3 inches or 7 centimeters, you can stop, but keep some of the spare substrate back for later use. Unfortunately, most substrate doesn't contain nutrients to support plant growth. They have to be added to guarantee healthy plants. Laterite is one of the most commonly used and is a clay-based powder containing iron, which is important in sustaining plants. When adding it to the surface of the substrate, try to scatter over the whole area, working from one side of the tank to the other to ensure an even spread. Laterite will help in those important first few months. After that, you'll need to place fertilizer tablets next to the plants to help them grow. When you've finished, it's time to add the bacterial culture that helps release the nutrients in a way that plants can easily absorb. This you can gently crumble in a fine layer on top of the laterite. Always follow manufacturer's instructions. After that, very gently mix the two into the substrate with your fingertips. Finally, add a layer of substrate to bring the depth up to about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. There are a wide variety of filter systems around today, but they all serve the same purpose: to remove solid waste, to provide a large oxygenated surface area to encourage the growth of good bacteria, and to eliminate toxic elements in the water via a chemical filter. The filter we are using today is a compact internal power filter. This consists of a submersible water pump for the water flow, filter foam that encourages the growth of beneficial bacteria, and finally a carbon filter to remove any toxic elements. The filter is held in place on the glass with suckers. Make sure that the returned clean water flow is pointed diagonally across the tank to ensure a good circulation of water around the aquarium. Dirty water is drawn in from the sides at the bottom of the pump, so don't bury it in the substrate, otherwise it won't be able to draw the water through. Make sure you don't connect it to the electricity supply until the tank is full of water. Thermostats can generally be set to between 20 degrees centigrade, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and 34 degrees centigrade, 93 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll set ours to the optimum of 27 degrees centigrade or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. To adjust the temperature, turn the small dial at the end, then place onto the inside rear glass panel using the plastic suckers. Place it at an angle of 45 degrees. This way the heat generated will disperse over a greater area. Under no circumstances connect the thermostat to the electricity supply until the aquarium is full of water. For plants to thrive, they need dissolved carbon dioxide gas to use in photosynthesis to make glucose for energy and growth. In lakes and rivers, other living organisms make enough carbon dioxide gas as a waste product to sustain photosynthesis. But in the small world of the aquarium, this has to be artificially created by adding carbon dioxide to the water. In this tank setup, we're going to use a simple plastic bottle containing sugar solution mixed with a blend of yeasts. This will ferment and produce a steady stream of carbon dioxide bubbles that will last for about 6 weeks before a refill is required. The carbon dioxide will be dispersed in the tank by a small water pump positioned at the opposite end of the tank from the filter. This will help increase the circulation of water in the aquarium. Fix the water pump no deeper than 6 inches or 15 centimeters from the water surface. Otherwise, it greatly reduces the amount of carbon dioxide diffusion in the water. The gas bubbles pass along the silicon tube which ends close to the outlet of the water pump. This pump then creates the water flow to distribute the gas into the aquarium in a stream of minute bubbles. In case of a power cut, it's advisable to fit a check valve to the tube to prevent back siphoning. During the day, the plants use light to carry out photosynthesis, but at night the process stops. So by connecting the water pump to the timer, when the lights go off, so does the carbon dioxide pump. This prevents a build-up of carbon dioxide which can be harmful to your fish. Any gas still entering the tank floats harmlessly up and bubbles off at the surface. Aquascaping is one of the most enjoyable and creative parts of the tank setup process. By using rocks, wood, plants and other props, you can create a unique look for your aquarium. For inspiration, it often helps to visit your local aquarist to see the wide range of possibilities on offer. Start by drawing a plan to show how the various elements will fit together. This helps you avoid moving rocks and other props around too much in the aquarium, as this can disturb the substrate and could damage the tank. Always think of the aquarium as a natural landscape. Don't feel tempted to clutter the tank with too much decor. Often the most pleasing results are achieved by keeping your design simple. Remember that your fish will also need areas of free swimming space, and most importantly, you'll want to see them. We're going to start with our wood elements. Both bogwood and bamboo are popular for imitating different natural environments. Mapani wood comes pre-cleaned and has many different textures. Bogwood, which comes in all shapes and sizes, is ideal for creating a unique look and can be useful for hiding unattractive tank equipment. When buying bogwood, always ask if it's been pre-soaked. Often it hasn't, and you'll need to soak it to remove the natural acids and tannins which could be harmful to your plants and fish. Before soaking, wet it and use an old nail brush to remove any dirt. To soak, simply place the bogwood in a bucket of clean tap water, weighing it down if it floats. After a few days, the contaminants will begin to leach out and discolour the water. Only when the water resembles a strong tea colour do you need to change it. It might take several changes of water and up to 2 weeks before the water remains clear. It's then safe to add the bogwood to your aquarium. Bamboo and cork bark also make excellent decor material. They need to be sealed by painting them with clear plastic paint used to seal concrete ponds. It's perfectly safe for the aquarium and stops any undesirable chemicals entering the water, as well as preventing the wood from rotting. For rocks to be suitable for an aquarium, they must be inert, meaning they won't affect the water chemistry. Any calcareous rocks such as chalk, limestone and marble are unsuitable because they will keep raising the pH of the water in the aquarium by the release of calcium salts. If in any doubt, you can easily test the rock. Simply pour on some malt vinegar. If the rock is calcareous, it will begin to gently fizz. If there's no fizzing, it should be safe. Here are just a sample of some suitable rocks. Granite has a sparkling quality and will weather in with time. Lava gives lots of interesting texture, though always check for any sharp edges that might damage the fish. Pebbles in all sizes are ideal for imitating a riverbed. Slate can be used to create caves for fish to retreat into. Smaller slate chippings will add colour and texture. Finally, there is a whole range of artificial decor, from plastic wood to imitation rock caves. Some have even been designed to disguise tank equipment. When you have chosen your rocks, give them a good scrub with a nail brush to remove any dust and debris. When the rocks have been thoroughly scrubbed, position them in the tank according to your design layout. Once you are happy with the composition of the rocks, firmly bed them into the substrate. When you are completely happy with the composition of your display, you can then add the water. Ordinary tap water has to be conditioned to neutralize undesirable chemicals. Here we are following the manufacturer's instructions and adding the whole amount required to the first bucket of water before filling the aquarium. If you want to attach a background, now is the time. You can use the small adhesive pads to hold it in place on the outside rear panel of the aquarium. Pour the conditioned water onto a saucer to prevent disturbing the substrate as well as your display. Often it's best to start filling using a smaller plastic jug and then work up to the larger bucket. It's important to keep a record of the volume of water you are adding. When the tank is about 2/3 full, it's best to stop. This will allow for any displacement of the water when you place your arm into the tank to plant it out. You can now plug in the thermostat and filter. For extra safety, it's best to use a power breaker. The water may well look slightly cloudy, but after about 24 hours, the pump will have made it crystal clear and ready for planting. Before starting to plant up your aquarium, it's worth referring to your basic plan. This way you can think ahead about the composition and size of the plants required. When planning your layout, work from the background plants to the middle and smaller foreground plants. Planting in groups of 3 or more of the same kind creates the most rewarding effect. Don't feel tempted to place lots of individual plants separately. Simplicity often creates the best results. Most reputable aquatic retailers will have a good variety of tropical plants. They should be clearly labelled with information about their maximum height, spread and lighting requirements. When choosing, avoid plants with damaged or brown leaves. Healthy plants have complete leaves, good root growth and plantlets growing through the base of the container. Each plant should be packed separately in a plastic bag with lots of air to prevent them being damaged when travelling. The moisture in the bag will keep them from drying out. Once home, plant them in the aquarium as soon as possible. To avoid any shock, ensure that the water temperature is at least 25 degrees centigrade or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. With potted plants, begin by removing the container. Sometimes a gentle squeeze will set them free, but other times you will need to cut the plastic into several pieces. Then, taking great care so as not to damage the roots, remove the rock wool growing medium. Finally, check for any damaged leaves, snails or snail eggs. Occasionally you'll come across plants held together with lead strips. These are not needed in the aquarium and should be returned to your retailer on your next visit. Avoid throwing them away irresponsibly. Planting in an aquarium takes a little practice. The best method is to try and manage with just one hand. Holding the plant, use 1 or 2 fingers to scoop out a hole and gently push the plant in so that the roots are embedded in the nutrient layer and the crown is just above the substrate level. Then backfill the hole, trying not to disturb the substrate too much. Follow the planting plan, starting from one corner at the back, working across the aquarium, then move forwards toward the front. The centre of the background is often a good area for a prized specimen. It's always advisable not to overfill with plants, as they will spread out and you can always plant more later if necessary. As you're doing the planting, make sure you look at the aquarium from all angles. That way you can check that the display you're creating works three-dimensionally and not just as a landscape picture from the front. When you shine a beam of white light at a prism, it emerges as a rainbow, showing all the colours that make up white light. Understanding nature's use of these colours is the key to successful lighting. Plants use the green pigment chlorophyll to trap sunlight for photosynthesis to create energy. Chlorophyll absorbs chiefly blue and red light. Unfortunately, aquatic plants, unlike land plants, don't receive an even share of the sun's light. The water acts as a filter, so the longer wavelengths at the red end of the spectrum are quickly absorbed, and the blue wavelengths, which are stronger, penetrate deeper down into the water before they are absorbed. To make adjustments for this unequal absorption in the aquarium, the light source used should have a peak in the blue and red bands. Our eyes respond well to a peak in yellow light, so manufacturers have developed triphosphor tubes, which produce the 3 required peaks of blue, red and yellow light. Our aquarium has a plastic lighting cradle which prevents corrosion. This can accept 2 fluorescent tubes. Fitting is quite straightforward. Simply slip the lock-in